Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another video for Monster Hunter Rise, and today is an incredibly exciting one because I get to bring you an exclusive interview. I had the very awesome opportunity to speak to both the director and the producer, Ichinose-san and Tsujimoto-san, and I got to ask them quite a lot of questions about Monster Hunter Rise. Now, a couple of things just to sort of note before that. I was not able to actually record the interview, so what I will be doing in this video is reading the questions and then giving you the translated answers. But regardless, I did get to touch on some pretty awesome questions. Keep in mind, whenever a game is just announced, there is only so much they are willing to kind of talk about this early on. So when it comes to hyper granular stuff like, oh, how many monsters will there be? How many maps will there be? That kind of stuff, you're never going to get answered. So I kind of picked my questions carefully, but I did get to ask some things about armor skills, the way the wire bug works, some of the balancing things, even weapon designs, and I did get some cool answers. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do, then a like would be super appreciated. And of course, keep it locked because we've got plenty more exciting Monster Hunter Rise videos coming your way very soon. So, to begin with, question number one I asked was relating to the kind of recent TGS stream. I mentioned that in the recent TGS stream, they said that there are a number of wire bug moves for the weapons. So I then went on to ask, are these fixed, or will we have multiple moves to choose from per weapon, sort of like how we could choose different hunter arts in Generations? The answer to this was wire bug moves are not strictly comparable to hunter arts, which, as you remember, of course, if you guys played Generations, had their own specific slots and had their own specific energy gauges that would build up over time. The wire bug moves for each weapon are much more like additional depth to that weapon, with new moves that you can pull off. Each weapon is adjusted separately depending on the strength of the move or what kind of positioning it makes you do. The cooldown will be different for different moves, again based on their strength. They did say they cannot go into detail just yet on the number of moves per weapon, so please stay tuned for more in the future. Moving on from there, I then went on to ask that, from what we've seen from the gameplay so far, the base weapon moves, they appear to build largely speaking on World and Iceborne. I said, is that correct? And if people want to get an understanding as to how the game will play, would it be fair to say that you're taking the best bits of World and adding in some amazing new features? And they said that, yeah, I think that would be fair to say. It's not exactly like we just ported over the World movesets. However, using that as a reference point as the most recent title, taking the best parts of World and Iceborne and then taking on board all the new fun gameplay elements that are in Rise and adapting those to fit each other is a good way to paint a picture on how the game plays. So for those of you guys wondering, then yeah, if you've played World before, there's probably going to be a good kind of understanding point for like how Rise might feel, but keep in mind there is lots of cool new stuff, wire bugs and all those things like that, that will change up the movesets. I then went on to ask a multiplayer related question, and I said that, is the SOS flare going to come back? Can we still invite players to quest mid-hunt? And if somebody drops out, will they be able to rejoin? The answer to this was yes. Whether or not it's exactly a flare type system in the way that World quite literally had you launching a flare into the sky, it might take a different form in Rise, but they said if you put that to one side for the time being, because they're not ready to kind of speak about the specifics, they said the intention is still to let players join a quest in progress. As to whether you'll be able to join back to a quest if you've been disconnected via an error, it's kind of hard to say that because there are so many variables when it comes to network environments. But at least on the multiplayer front, yes, the quality of life system introduced in World with join in progress is still going to be a thing. Following on from there, I then wanted to kind of dive a little bit deeper into online, and I said, will the online system for Rise work like World, where event quests rotate in and out, or will they remain permanent like older games? For those of you guys that maybe didn't play previous Monster Hunter games as a reference point, if event quests came out, they would basically be quests you could download, they're on your system, and they remain there forever, so it would never be a case of an event quest goes away. So, with that in mind, they then said, we are planning to have it work as per previous Monster Hunter portable games, where since you are sometimes going to be playing this game handheld, given that it's on Switch, you may not always be online or connected to the internet, so they are looking to make it so that once you download an event quest, you can play them whenever you like, which is really good. Like, I mean, I really enjoyed that system. It was always fun to kind of download the event quests, and it's nice to know that if there is a particular quest you really enjoy, then you're not going to be like, oh no, it's not in rotation this week. They will be there forever, provided of course you've downloaded it. Following on from there, still kind of speaking about the online space, I then said, how big will the online lobbies be? If you guys again remember, previous Monster Hunter games worked around a 4-man lobby system. Meanwhile, World and of course Iceborne had much larger lobbies with 16 players, and they said that Monster Hunter Rise uses the older traditional system where it is 4 players together in a single gathering hub, not the 16-player online lobbies of World, which again makes sense because keep in mind while the Nintendo Switch is of course a home console as well, they are factoring in that people will be playing this handheld on the go, so 4 people kind of makes more sense. Moving on from there, I then want to speak a little bit about weapon design. So I said that the weapon designs we've seen so far look fantastic, which they do. You know, you think about the small range we've seen from things like Acnosom and Tetranodon and the monsters they've introduced so far, they all do look quite different. So I then said, is it safe to assume that the bone and iron designs from World and Iceborne are gone, and we're back to unique designs per weapon? Again, as a point of reference, for any of you that maybe missed previous Monster Hunter games, Monster Hunter has always been synonymous with incredible weapon designs, even from some of the early game really easy monsters. So in line with that, Ichinose-san then said, yes, I am looking to try and make weapon designs as varied as possible in Monster Hunter Rise. In terms of the specific details in terms of upgrading your weapons, you'll have to wait for more details on that, but I do want to make sure that the designs have as much variety as possible, which is fantastic. I mean, again, it kind of lines up nicely with what we see in the trailer, so yeah, if we can kind of have those unique weapon designs back, no matter whether you're fighting the early game easy boy or the ultra big difficult end game monster, that's going to be fantastic. Moving on from there, I then went on to kind of ask a question. This was something I just sort of saw people talking about off the back of the stream, so I thought I might as well bring it up. I said, how have you balanced the wire bug? What's to stop players from jumping on top of a building to hide from a monster, using a bowgun or a bow just to shoot them from somewhere they can't reach? And Ichinose-san then went on to say that, of course, the monsters are aware, so to speak, of the fact that the wire bug is in the game, both new monsters and old. They've designed their AI so that the player isn't able to pull off anything too cheap. It also goes down to how the monster's AI and behaviour responds to the player's inputs. Also, how the maps are designed as well. And since they control the map design, they can ensure they don't put like a house right next to where you're going to be fighting a monster. The main areas where fights will typically take place are designed to provide a balance of traversal and accessibility without just giving them a cheesy sniper spot. They also said that the maps will be divided up, not into loading zones, because obviously we know that the maps are one cohesive thing, you can kind of just walk around, but there are smaller sort of sub-zones that maybe only players can access, so monsters can't get there, and conversely, if you get a certain distance from a monster and start shooting it, they could also just make the monster go away. So fair to say, the wire bug is not just going to let you cheese the hell out of all the monsters. After that, I then wanted to ask a very specific question about one of the things we saw in the TGS trailer, and I said, how does the giant barrel bomb move work? For those of you guys that have seen it, a hunter jumps up and quite literally throws a barrel bomb down on the ground. So I then said, why are we able to throw a big bomb, and are there other wire bug moves that allow us to throw other items? In my mind, I'm thinking, can we throw a shock trap? And he said, yep, as you noticed, the wire bug is bringing new strategy and depth to the moves, not just to how you use your weapon or the traversal, but also how you use your items. It's not limited to just bombs, but at this stage we can't say more, so please look forward to more information as we reveal it. So that's fair enough. The fact that it's not just bombs does get me excited. Imagine if you can just jump into the sky and dash a shock trap on the ground and trap a monster. That would be kinda jokes. Anyway, moving on from there, question number 9, I then wanted to ask a little bit about the quest structure. Again, for those of you maybe that haven't played previous Monster Hunter games, Monster Hunter used to work around a sort of split system where you would have village quests, which would be solo quests you had to do on your own, and you would then have guild quests, which would be the multiplayer quests. So I said, does online/offline follow the structure of World, where it was just like all quests together, or is it like older games where you have village quests and guild quests? And he said, yeah. So the idea of the single player and multiplayer quests being treated separately is how we're looking at it in Rise. But once again, for more details on exactly how this will work, please stay tuned for more information as we get closer to launch. So not, complete specifics, but they did say they are at least approaching it in the way that it used to work, where there is kind of a split between single player and multiplayer quests, which is kind of interesting because obviously, that to a degree almost gives you more quests because you then have the story portion you do on your own and then plenty of multiplayer quests. Meanwhile, in World and Iceborne, everything was, unified. After that, I then had a quick question because this was a point in the interview where I was reminded that I was running out of time, so I had to kind of switch over to more quickfire questions. So I said, does the character creator still have glorious beards? Because, it's got to be an important question. And he said, let's just say I think you'll be able to create lots of cool characters in Rise. It's not a straight import of exactly how the world creator worked, which again makes sense. I mean, the world creator was very in-depth, and that kind of goes hand in hand with the visuals. So with Rise being, not as graphically intensive, then that's fair to say. But he then said, it's safe to say you will be able to make lots of cool looking hunters. So not exactly a specific answer, but let's just say they're keeping beards. After that, I then said, will layered armor be applicable to all armor sets like it is in World now, or will it be select items? Now he said, as you noticed, since we've included some cool looking layered armor as pre-order bonuses, that system is making a return. However, Ichinose-san then went on to say, I would like to wait until a later stage to speak about exactly how it will work in Rise, as I wouldn't want to rattle off an answer now and create a misunderstanding. So for now, yes, layered armor is in the game, but stay tuned for more details. After that, this is one for the community because I know there's kind of often discussion about this, and I actually asked, where does this game take place? Is it the new world or the old world? And he actually said, we kind of keep it a little bit up to the player's imagination in the sense that we're not committing to a lore timeline where this game takes place after that game, or this exact location is somehow related to other ones. He said certainly you can get a feel for how this one looks and feels differently, and the Japanese theme of course makes it look like it takes place in a completely different part of Monster Hunter. But exactly where that is, when that is, or why that is, we leave up to your imagination. So not exactly an answer in terms of where this is placed in the whole system. But I mean, at the end of the day, as long as I get to hunt monsters and make armor, I'm still going to have a great time. After that, I was then getting towards the very end, and I basically had one more question to ask, so I kind of combined two to speak about armor skills and decorations. So I said, does the armor skill system work like it did in World and Iceborne? Again, as a reminder for those of you guys that maybe didn't play previous Monster Hunter games, in the past, Monster Hunter worked around a point system whereby skills needed to meet certain thresholds in order to activate, so you couldn't just have 1 point and attack boost, you had to hit certain limits for it to activate, and older games also had negative skills, so you could quite literally have bad skills on your armor. Meanwhile in World, they adopted a system whereby it was the point system, and you gem something in and you can quite literally have 1 point in attack and it gives you some kind of benefit. So I wanted to ask whether this system was the same or whether they were changing it. And Ichinose-san said, we've actually tried to make a system which is something that combines elements of what you might call the classic skill system and the world-based one. He said, I can't go into more details right now, but please look forward to more details soon. So obviously, that much doesn't give us the exact answer, but I am incredibly excited to think about the potential of an armor skill system that combines like the old system and the new system, quite how that's going to work. Maybe he's going to bring back like negative skills, maybe he's going to bring back some thresholds. Honestly, we're going to have to wait and see, but armor skills will not be the same as World, nor will it be the same as old games. We're looking at something new. And also as part of that final question, I also rolled in the mention of decorations, and I said, will we still need to farm decorations or can we craft them like the older games? And for this one, I got the typical kind of PR answer, which was, same answer as before, please stay tuned for more information. Which is fair enough. I mean, they already gave me a load, so I'm happy to wait for that. But for the time being, that's it. That was my interview with Yasunori Ichinose and Ryozo Tsujimoto. Incredibly cool to be able to speak to them. It was fun just to kind of like be able to geek out about the game and just get excited and tell them how much I'm looking forward to it because, that bit was fun. But yeah, massive shout out to Capcom for, of course, giving me the opportunity to speak to them, and hopefully this is kind of giving you guys some more information about the game. As always, once we get close to launch, I will be bringing you all the latest. Then once they start speaking more about the game and kind of speaking about more specific systems and things like that, then you can expect full breakdowns on the channel. But for the time being, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there. If you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with, it's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.